Hello, I am Trudy Tripp and I am an area coordinator. My role is to supervise Calabria and Crest on our A teams and assist with students in Walking Stick and Greenhorn. It's important to understand our approach to campus conduct before talking about how we address policy. Our hope is that the conduct system is educational rather than punitive in nature. We try to educate the person regarding the policy and the problem behavior that is in question. That is your role too while addressing the violation. This presentation will go over policy, but it will also address procedures in case of emergency. I want to run through some steps to take during violations. Of course, some will look different than others. However, following these steps allows you to do your job, but also be an advocate for students as well. First, you're going to collect the facts and confirm the accuracy of your information. Some situations may come through a third party who doesn't want to be involved. If a student gives you information and asks you not to tell, let them know that you must trust your judgment and respect your responsibilities. As a student staff member, your job is to document everything that happens and let the director of conduct or area coordinator decide what happens from there. Then you're going to approach the students. Assess the need for others' involvement. Get additional staff support if needed. Call the RA on duty or another RA in your building. In dealing with large groups, having extra support from fellow RAs is very important. Assess the condition of the residents that you're confronting. Try not to overexcite or get angry with residents. Stay calm and relaxed, and that will help the residents also stay calm and relaxed. Do not place yourself in danger of physical harm. People who are angry or drunk can be violent and not rational. Remember that the students you're approaching may lie to you. They might shift the blame on you for turning them in or argue with you about the policy. Become hostile, or they might even ask you not to report it to your supervisor. Remember that this is just student behavior. It's not about a personality, opinions, or etc. If you need to search the room, ask the students to open the refrigerator, dresser, closets, etc. Professional staff will assist you. Listen to the students. It's important to establish a meaningful exchange with the students. A goal is to reach a point where the student is willing to discuss the situation with you. Approach the student as an equal, a peer. Offer respect, courtesy, and fairness. Step 4 is to take action and stop the behavior. Bring an end to the violation. Focus on the behavior, not the personality. Describe the person's behavior. Describe how this behavior affects you and others on your floor. Describe how you feel about the behavior. Describe what you would like to see the person do to correct the behavior. State facts as facts and assumptions as assumptions. Make sure your assumptions are based on and supported by facts. Facts are verifiable by your senses. Faulty or incorrect information will jeopardize your credibility. Then you're going to tell people clearly what you want them to do and stay until they do it. Whether this is having them sit down until someone shows up or remaining calm. And then you're going to let the students know that you're required to document it and make sure that the area coordinator and pro staff are aware and that the Office of Conduct will be contacting them. It's important that the students know that they are supported by you. Follow up after the incident. You want to remove the behavior from the person. Be sure to talk with the students after the incident has occurred to help them restore them into the community. Each resident plays a vital part into the community of your hall. After your incident has occurred, it's important to touch base with the students to help them restore that community. This is the most important part. As we remove the behavior from the person, they might be making a silly mistake, but they're not a stupid person. If you know that they were struggling about the incident, ask them how they're doing or if they've heard anything or if they need your support reaching out. Show them that you're supportive of them. If that's not the case, if they were totally cool in the situation or not, just say hi to them like normal. You don't even have to bring it up. If they are awkward about it, you shouldn't be. Show them that it hasn't stopped you from knowing them. In the context of a resident assistant or residence life staff member, which you all are, it's important to define what it means to respect the student's privacy. You're not bound to strictly confidentiality in a way that professional therapists are, and you should not promise any type of confidentiality to a resident. Be upfront and make it clear that to students that you are, as an RA or residence life member, you want to respect their privacy, but you cannot promise that you will not share important information with the area coordinator or another professional staff member at CSUP. RAs should also respect students' privacy by not sharing details, i.e. names, of a student sensitive situation with other students, peers, or even other RAs who are not involved in the situation. Always use your best judgment when sharing information, and only share information with those who need to know to better assist the student involved. They absolutely need to know. We're going to go through some do's and don'ts. First, we'll start with the do's. Do share the student's information about a student's situation with the area coordinator and other appropriate staff members. Do consult with your area coordinator and other appropriate staff members if you're concerned about a student, even if the student doesn't want to share her name at the time. Do keep the Director of Residence Life and Area Coordinator updated frequently on the student situation. You might have one-on-one meetings or weekly reports that you need to do this through. Do use your staff to gain support through dealing with difficult situations. However, do not share details about this situation unless it is pertinent information. And try to manage rumors and gossip throughout the building. We hope that your role will help you put a stop to it. Over to the don'ts. Do not promise a student confidentiality at the time. Do not share students' personal information with other students in your unit or with your friends. Do not share information with a parent or guardian. The area coordinator or other personal staff will speak to parents if needed. And do not share the outcome of students' campus conduct meetings with other students without approval from the area coordinator. There are so many of you, and you are all vital in making this year work and influencing the students' success. These incidents might look different for all of you, but all else fails, you can call professional staff on call. DAs and work crew, that's most likely what you'll do when you run into these situations. I know this slideshow is long, but hang in there. There's one last thing we need to think about before getting started on specific incidents. It's important for you to know the expectations of entering a student's room. You will likely enter a student's room for a various amount of reasons. It could be that we ask you to check on a work order and if it was completed, to check their outlets for a noise violation, or more. If you've never entered a student's room, you won't ever do it for personal reasons. You will knock 3 times, introducing yourself every time. It should sound like this. Residence Life. RA, Residence Life. Residence Life keying in. If you know the student's name, it's okay to personally address them. Or if they know you, you can say your name instead of Residence Life. Give them a chance to open the door. After you've left the space, for any reason, if a resident is not there, we want them to know we were. There are door tags at the front desk. You will fill it out and leave it on their door. It's not a secret that we were there. We want to be transparent. And honestly, that's how it'll go with all policy. Let's dig in and talk about specific incidents that you might run into and what to do. The first policy that we're going to talk about is alcohol. Members of the campus community may not possess alcohol unless they are over 21 and they're in their own space, so they can't be outside. They can have a 6-pack of alcohol or a hard bottle of liquor, but it must be labeled. Only one of those per student. No alcohol can be in Crestone or Calibra, no matter the age of the student. For this incident, you are going to call backup if needed. If the students are over 21, you do not need to call the police, but if they're under, you do. For intoxication, that might be life-threatening or violent, obviously you're going to call 911. And then you're going to call pro staff on call. We always want to call emergency if we need them before pro staff. It takes them a little bit longer to respond. And if you haven't already, pro staff will tell you to. The sheriffs and pro staff will come. In the meantime, you should try to keep the residents calm. Never leave the space after you've already come into it. Check IDs and make sure everyone's safe. The area coordinator will notify parents or guardians if transportation happens. You do not need to worry about that. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It depends on the student and what their card says. Your objective here is to promote safety and security of the student. You need to observe behaviors and see what has been possessed and consumed. Take photos of the alcohol. Do not touch it. After the police leave, let's say nobody is transported, you're going to have the students dispose of all the unopened and open alcohol beverages under your supervision. Then you're going to collect their IDs, take some photos, write down the names, and inform the students involved that you need to write a report. Ask each student to return to the residence and maintain their night. Make sure you complete an incident report and put each student's name who is present. Document specific behaviors, speech, paraphernalia, statements, etc. Include names, locations, and ID numbers for all students. Marijuana. There is no manufacturing, distributing, dispensing, possessing, or use of controlled substance on campus. This includes those who have a medical need. Students cannot partake on campus. If drugs or marijuana is suspected, you're going to call the RA on duty. The RA will come, and if they also smell it or suspect it, they will call campus sheriffs and pro staff in that order. You'll take any photos of found items when they arrive. You will not knock on the door until they arrive. You're going to promote the safety and security of the students. Try to locate the scent. If you can't, then you're not going to necessarily knock on a specific door. Observe the location where the scent is coming from until higher authorities reach the location. Make sure you always complete an incident report, even if no specific student was identified. If there's a fire or a fire alarm, all students must evacuate the building. You must document those who are not evacuating and have personal conversations with them. We take this seriously. You're going to call 911 immediately, and then your supervisor, if campus safety or sheriffs has not been present. You're going to call back up on duty and keep all students outside of the building. Promote the safety and security of the students within and outside the building. Follow individual building procedures and staff assignments during fire alarm, and make sure you complete an incident report as well. Harassment and threat. There is a no tolerance policy for this. Any type of harassment is unacceptable. You're going to train more about this with the presentation for Title IX as well, but it's important for you to know that this is seen as a non-observance of campus policy and standards. If a student feels threatened or unsafe, contact campus sheriffs and the RA on call immediately. If a student informs you of a previous situation and currently feels safe, make sure you still call the RA on call to keep them in the loop. So let's say something happened in the past where they felt threatened, but they don't now. We still want to make sure everybody's in the loop. The RA on call is going to call the area coordinator, and depending on the case, maybe parents might be notified. The RA on call will likely go to their door and have a conversation with them before calling the area coordinator, unless this is some kind of physical unsafe. Promote the safety and security of the students by providing support as needed to the roommate, floor mates, and friends. But make sure you're holding privacy for the student and not discussing information to others that are not directly involved with the situation. Sometimes roommates come to you and tell you about their friend or suite mate. You can go to those people, but you're not going to say, your roommate told me. You're going to say, I've heard that you're feeling unsafe. Let's have a conversation. Complete an incident report no matter what. Depending on the case, you might also just create a CARES report if it was something in the past. When you call the area coordinator to update them, they may require you to complete a referral or ask you for more details about the situation. They might ask you to go back to that student in a couple of days to get an update or to see how the student is feeling. The guest policy is that students may check in at the front desk with their guests and their guests cannot stay more than 3 consecutive nights. All roommates must be aware and agreeing to have a guest. The guests can use the main bathroom offered in the living spaces, so that would be on the main floor and in the clubhouse. We need there to be respect of each member of the residence hall community, as that's considered vital. They are responsible for their guests' actions. So if their guest breaks policy, the student will be held accountable. You want to promote safety and security of the community and notify the students that they're violating the guest policy. Many students are not aware of this policy. Collect and write down all of the names involved and inform each student involved that it needs to be documented. Ask each student to return to the residence space, and their visitors should leave campus or come up with a plan together. Make sure you complete an incident report. This doesn't seem like a big thing, but if people are constantly having their partner live with them, it does become a concern. Document the time, incident, and statements. Include names and locations for all students. However, due to COVID, the guest policy has been changed this year. All guests must still check in at the front desk. However, each room is only allowed 1 additional guest. Even if there are 2 people living in the room, only 1 additional guest is allowed in the space. The guest also must be a residential student. They can live in any residential space on campus. However, no outside guests are allowed, even if they are students who live off campus. If someone were to become physically injured or ill, safety is our number 1 priority. Never hesitate to call 911. If a student is found not observing campus standards, and their physical safety or health is at our first concern. This should be reflected in your response plan. If life-threatening or serious, call 911 or the RA on duty immediately. The RA on duty will determine which staff members need to accompany the student, and they'll notify professional staff. Professional staff will notify the Dean of Students, and Dean of Students may ask us to notify parents or guardians. If someone needs to accompany the student to the hospital, we might ask that someone stays with the student. There will be frequent conversation between pro staff and Dean of Students. This is not your responsibility. We will ask if you know when students are released to let us know. We want to provide support as much as needed to roommates, floormates, and friends, as well as them. We're going to follow up with the students for the first 24 hours after being released from the hospital. And you're also going to complete a CARES report. Theft and vandalism. The best option is for the student to file a report with the sheriff's department. In some cases, we can use the camera footage, but that's a really slim chance. Make sure you're contacting your area coordinator and encourage the student to file the report, but also promote safety and security of students. Ask them if they're locking their doors, etc. Have a student fill out the report, but also you will fill out an incident report, no matter what, including names, hall, room numbers, and ID numbers for all students. The use of tobacco on campus is prohibited. This is a newer rule to campus, but students may walk off campus to partake. The use of tobacco on campus is prohibited by all people, so even if you see guests, employees, just kindly let them know that it's prohibited on campus. The RA on duty must submit an incident report. If you don't feel confident confronting the person, go ahead and call the RA on call, but I'm hopeful that all of you can. We want them to dispose of the tobacco products as we see. We don't want to let them keep smoking as we walk away. Collect IDs, information, just as you would for any other situation, and inform the student that they have to be documented. Complete the incident report using specific behaviors, statements, include names, location, and PID. Pets. CSU Pueblo does not allow students to have pets on campus. Even if it's a small hamster or a gecko, students who have approval for animals will have a small tag that's stapled to their red card. We do allow them to have a service animal, but we're not allowed to ask what that service is specifically for. If you're interested in knowing whether they do or don't, go ahead and look in their red card and see if they have a little tag for their animal. You will need to document this and call pro staff on call. Usually, the student gets 24 hours to remove the pet from campus, and pro staff will ask you to make sure that this animal has been removed the following day. Last but not least, bloodborne pathogens. We need to know how to properly clean up areas while maintaining safety. This is usually if students are bleeding somewhere or they vomited in the hallway and left. There are vomit kits, a cleaning staff, so we don't always rely on you depending on how big or small, and first aid kits. You're going to call the RA on duty and absolutely, if needed, call 911. If that's the case, you're going to also call the area coordinator. Most of the time, it's just going to be vomit in a hallway. You're going to isolate the location and cover the area with plastic. First, you're going to try to clean it up with the vomit kit, which can be found behind the front desk of every desk. You're going to use those materials after you throw it away. Make sure you put a trash bag over it and then put in a work order so that the area can be cleaned thoroughly. If you have an idea of the student, you saw the student do it, make sure that you ask the student if they're okay, and you're always going to write an incident report. I know this is a lot of information, but incident reports are your most helpful way to make sure that the conduct process goes smoothly. This is separate presentation for this, but it's important for you to know that you all must be writing them. If an incident happens and DA Mark is in front of the desk and RA Page is checking a student in, both Mark and Page need to write their own reports. And pro staff's going to do the same thing. If they show up to an alcohol violation, both of you will write a report. This helps us get everybody's view. And always remember, students are human. It's hard to assume what decisions they will make and how to react. These are the most common violations that we see, but a new situation could arise at any moment. Just always do your best, think creatively, and call pro staff if you need to. Make sure that you have the student's information and you've tried something before calling. But of course, do not hesitate if it's an emergency. You got this.